Hey there, friends. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the brand new 2022 U.S. House and U.S. Senate report card given out by the NSSF. What this report card is they essentially grade politicians, both Congress and the Senate, on how they have participated in bills, whether they supported bills that were either anti-gun or pro-gun, or whether they didn't support or purposely did not co-sign onto bills for the same reasons, either for or against. The report card that just came out, which covers the 117th Congress, and this covers all the way through August of 2022, so last month. This report card does cover the gun control bill that got passed this summer, because it, again, covers all the way through August of this year. The thing that made me have to put a video out on this, and I still have unanswered questions, is that 15 of the Republicans that signed on to the gun control bill, which, by the way, includes red flag gun law bribe money, that is your tax dollars that would be given to states to try to encourage them, to blackmail them, to get them to put red flag gun laws into place in those particular states, because they know it's an unconstitutional law and they can't do it at the federal level, so they're trying to bribe the states with your money to do it at the state level. 7910, which essentially is what the bill's number was, did get signed into law by Joe Biden. 15 Republicans signed on to this. I'm not even looking at the Democrats right now because we all knew they were going to sign it anyway. But the 15 Republicans that signed it all have really good grades. You heard that right. They all have really good grades. So good that some of them are A+ ratings. Now, the thing that I want to point out, and this is actually in fairness to NSSF, because I don't agree with these scorecards, is you have to understand where the NSSF stands in all of this. If you notice, they don't mention the Second Amendment in here. That's not mentioned anywhere. They talk about policy, they talk about industry. The NSSF is positioned to help the firearms industry. They are not necessarily a gun rights activist organization. They are not like a GOA, they're not like an NRA, they're not like an NAGR, they're not like a firearms policy coalition. That's not what they do. They are more positioned to help out the industry itself as it works as a business. So gun shops, gun manufacturers. I'm not defending them. I'm just telling you why some of this is most likely like this, because you have to find a way to make sense of this, because I couldn't. So I called the NSSF. When I called them, they forwarded me to what she told me was the legal arm of NSSF. A gentleman called me by the name of Mark Oliver. And we had a long, good conversation about this, but I left the conversation probably just as confused as I am now. Now, I'm not stupid, and I kind of felt stupid being part of this conversation to a certain degree, not because Mark is a genius, and again, I don't know Mark well enough to know if he is or not. He may very well be a genius. I'm not, but I'm not stupid either. I made the comment to him that I didn't understand how someone could maintain an A record or even an A+ record having voted for one of the biggest gun control bills that has gone through and been pushed through and signed into law, and would not have been signed into law had these people not signed on to it. In other words, it's not like their vote didn't matter. Their vote, each one of these people's votes, they could have stopped this, and they all voted for it. So their votes were way more important, like magnified in terms of the importance of that one particular vote than what most of them have ever had a vote in the past. His response to me was kind of what they mentioned in their letter, that they sign on to letters to the White House or the Department of Interior, or they oppose different ones to the White House, Department of Interior, and various other organizations within the government, and how they position themselves to support or don't support something, and the different types of conversations, their actions on committees and things like that, letters that they send to, whomever, whichever, their participation, and again, more on the industry side of things, not necessary the activist side of things, the rights, the actual rights of the Second Amendment. But I still felt like he was justifying the grade, which I still, just math. I mean, I know math can be difficult, but in this case, I don't find that to be very difficult. So I asked how these politicians could vote for this gun control bill and still maintain an A+ or an A rating. I didn't understand their math, their computing system as far as arriving at these grades. He mentioned that different things that they do and different pieces of the industry that they're involved in have different weights in them. Well, again, my thinking was the gun control bill would have had much more weight than anything else that they might have done. I think he mentioned something in terms of banks having something to do with funding with the firearms industry. Again, we're talking about the industry side, not the activism side for the Second Amendment. So I mentioned that I wasn't stupid and that I did not understand how even if a person had an A+ rating, a perfect rating, A+ is perfect, right? I didn't understand how if you had that perfect rating and all you did was vote for the gun control bill that Joe Biden signed into law, if that was the only thing you did negative, it was still a negative. And even if you weighted it really, really small, it still took away from your perfect score. So how can you start out with an A+, vote for a gun control bill, and maintain an A+, unless you don't think that the gun control bill was a bad thing? Do you follow what I'm saying? Case in point, if you notice in the margin and at the top of the page over here, they don't mention HR 7910. That's not mentioned at all. Remember, this scorecard took place and encompassed up to August, last month of 2022, which is a month after the gun control bill was signed into law. So why didn't we include that? Why didn't we include it either as a negative, like I see it, or as a positive, which maybe you guys saw it at that? Because again, I have to go back to a grading system. Any grading system, A+ is perfect. And any ding on that A+ takes that plus away. Yeah, I guess you could still keep your A, not in my book, but I suppose you could still keep your A, just not your A+. So how can Bill Cassidy, who sits in my backyard in Louisiana, vote for an historic gun control bill that passes, yet still maintain an A+ rating? The only way is if you take the activism piece completely out of this report card and have it only with your activity within the industry and the business side of the gun industry. That's the only way. Otherwise, you're ignoring math and you're ignoring the way a normal grading system works, and you're creating your own, which means now it doesn't mean anything to anybody. I don't know what to say about this other than the NSSF has definitely distanced themselves from being an activist organization for the Second Amendment. I don't think they are anti-Second Amendment. If you go look at their website, you can look and see where the projects are that they really support and that they really put a lot of effort into. And it's actually not a whole lot of legislative type stuff. They don't seem to have a really strong arm there. So again, if their business model is aligned like that to where the Second Amendment is something that's fought by other people and they focus on the business side of it, okay, I understand that, but I think you should come out and say that look, this report card does not take into account the fact that we're not weighting and putting weight on various gun bills that might have something to do with your actual rights. We're more concerned with the business side and you know, maybe the liberty of one company to be able to do business as a firearms company without being harassed by credit card companies or banks. If that's what their position is going to be, then come out and state that. Come out and say that. And again, I can see most of that on the website, so I understand that. But I feel like they need to come out and say that. Otherwise, they are going to be viewed in the industry as an anti-gun organization, because supporting these rat bastard senators with A and A+ ratings who voted for historical gun control gives the appearance that they are very anti-gun and very anti-Second Amendment. So I feel like they at some point need to come out and say, wait a minute, guys, you are looking at us all wrong. You know, we support the Second Amendment to a certain degree. I had to throw in to a certain degree, but our focus is not on the activism side of the Second Amendment. We are focused on firearms, the firearms community, and firearms sales and the business side of that industry. You guys fight the fight on the other side as far as activism and the Second Amendment. We'll take this side of it. If they came out and said that, at least I would understand their approach. I was always under the assumption that they had it in their heart to be just as pro-Second Amendment as we are, and this scorecard does not represent that.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's so